Hey folks, I'm holding here an Eastwood Classic 12 guitar. Hope you can see it okay. Uh, Beautiful, beautiful instrument. I'm very, very happy with it. I'm going to go through a bunch of good points and some minor problems I came across when I got the guitar and show you how I love the good points and how I solved the bad points. So, super quick story. This guitar normally sells for I think around 650, something like that. Uh, or if you buy it on the Eastwood website. Well, they had a special with some discontinued models, some discontinued finishes, um, and they had an additional 15% off of that. So I got this guitar, including shipping, for under $500. Um, the only thing that will come close to this, and by the way, you'll notice how similar it is to a Gretsch, is there is a Gretsch model that very similar, but the Gretsch model is a full hollow body. This is a semi-hollow, center block construction. The Gretsch you can find sometimes for $700, $800. So this was a real bargain for me. Um, let's see. Beginning with the headstock. If you look at most Eastwood uh, guitars, if you look at the Eastwood Classic 12 on most uh, web images, you see there's a little additional semicircular hump up here on the headstock, and basically I I filed it off. I cut it off. Actually, I used a back saw, a real precision back saw, and cut it off, and then filed it and sanded it and finished it. So you can see it's virtually unnoticeable. The problem it was that with that additional crown of a half inch or three-quarters of an inch or whatever it was, it would not fit into a standard semi-hollow guitar case. And let me put it this way, into a standard hard case. Eastwood offers a soft case with this guitar, and I bet the soft case will allow for that, but I need a hard shell case for all of my good instruments. So after I got this and I tried to fit it into one of my 335 style cases, I realized there was a little problem. So I solved the problem by taking it down into my basement and cutting some of the headstock off. Now, this might not be a solution for some of you people, although I'd say if you know a decent luthier, they're going to be able to do that without too much trouble. So there was that. But notice, by the way, beautiful slanted headstock with mini enclosed tuners, Grover type or Goto type or whatever you want to call them, tuners that are really, well mounted. The guitar is made in China. There was a little sticker on the back that said "Made in China," which I have no problem with at all. I think that these instruments coming out of China these days are amazing for the most part, particularly when they don't try to do a Gibson knockoff or a Fender knockoff. When they do something that's a little out of the ordinary like this, I think they're fabulous. On many of the import instruments, you find that the tuners are not locked down really well. Like they put them on really quick and they don't lock them down. These were really locked down nicely. So beautiful tuners, really nice headstock. I took the truss rod cover off because I'm constantly adjusting the truss rod. I've had this guitar for, I guess, a month or two now, and until it really settles in, I will occasionally do truss rod adjustments to it. The nut is most probably a plastic nut, but beautifully done. I'm having some very minor problems where the strings seem to be catching a little bit in the nut, but it's very minor. A little right now, I'm putting graphite in and occasionally getting little bits of sandpaper and cleaning that out so that they move through more smoothly, but not a big deal. Fretboard is some kind of rosewood type wood, and it has these sort of shark's fin inlays that are really, really well done. Very neat, very clean. Fretwork, just about absolutely perfect. It took me a few days to acclimate, set the bridge height, and do all the little things, truss rod adjustment, etc. And after a few days, there was a very, very minor buzz up here, just on the low E string around the 9th, 10th, 11th fret. And I was able to, very easily recrown those little areas of the frets that were off a little bit. Again, something that a good luthier can do. So if you're not comfortable doing that yourself, you find somebody to do that. But I find things like that on the finest guitars. $5,000 instruments will sometimes have little imperfections in the frets. I almost expect it because an instrument over time is going to do a little bit of shifting here and there. So not a big deal. What else? The neck. The neck had a pretty nice contour, but it was a little fat for my personal taste. It wasn't awful, but it was kind of like what they call a 50s Les Paul contour, a 50s Gibson contour. Kind of a chubby C shape. Now it's a nice wide neck, which I like on a 12 string. I like to have that extra bit of real estate so that the strings are not choked together too closely. But the back of the neck was just a little annoying to me. So once again, took it down into the workshop. And I don't think you can see it. Let's see if I can catch this. If you look really, really carefully, you can see a little bit of a stripe down the center where I've exposed raw wood. So basically what I've done so far is I've filed and sanded the back of the neck to make it just a little bit flatter and make it just a little less thick. And it's feeling pretty good to me. I might do a little more to it as time goes on. It's a dovetail joint, or some kind of a solid joint here. It's not a bolt neck. Beautiful, beautiful wood, by the way. Notice, if you can, the color of this top. It's really, really tough to show, but it's kind of a golden buttery color, which makes me think that it is not flamed maple, but probably flamed sycamore, because I have other guitars with a sycamore top, and the sycamore tends to have more of a golden color than the sort of pinkish tone that maple has. Pickups sound really, really nice to me. We'll play it and listen in just a moment. Bridge is a major concern on 12 strings, right? Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the camera up close, but the original bridge had 6 bridge pieces. Each piece had 2 slots in it to accommodate the 2 pairs, or the pair of strings. And the intonation was not acceptable to me. I need to have intonation adjustment for each string individually. I started poking around the web and looking at all different things, and I could not find a 12-string bridge of this tunematic style that had 12 adjustable pole pieces. So I bought some parts from Stuart McDonald and got a different bridge and some extra bridge saddles, and I shaped the saddles in such a way that I could fit 2 saddles on each screw, and then I spaced the saddles apart as carefully as I could so that I could get precise intonation. I'm going to try to hold this up to the camera and see if you can see what's going on there. So there you go. If you look at that really carefully, you can see that there are separate bridge saddles for most of the pairs of strings. Very interestingly, well, of course, the E pair and the B pair, the unison pairs, do not require two saddles. They only need one. But the G pair has two saddles. The D pair has two saddles. But very interestingly, perhaps coincidentally, the A pair actually intonated with a single saddle. And then the E pair have two saddles. So, and then just a little trick of my own. There's this piece of leather in here that basically mutes the strings behind the bridge, because the little holes that the strings come out of were just a little too tight, and sometimes when I plucked certain strings, they would buzz over here. So this eliminates that buzzing. Someday I may widen those holes a little bit, because it is a really cool sound when you get that clangorous bang behind the bridge. So what does it sound like? Well, here I am. I'm on the neck pickup. I'm using a little Zoom G1ON amp modeler thing, and this is just a simple setting with some compression. So a warm kind of sound. I forget what amp it is precisely, but here's the neck pickup. Okay, here's both pickups. And here's the bridge pickup. So let's hear them in action. If I go. That's neck, both, and bridge. So it's really nice and sweet. A lot of variation there to my ears. You probably can't hear it as well with the silly little camera, the silly little microphones that are built into my laptop camera thing. But listen to the intonation now. Here's an E chord in open position. Now I'm going to move all my fingers up one octave, leaving the low E, the B, and the high E strings open. Yeah, you like that? Yeah? Okay, now I'm going to play an E chord in root position at the 16th fret. So I'm playing an E on the A string, a G sharp on the D string, and a B on the G string, along with those three open strings. Let me try that again. So you try that with your average 12 string and see what you get. But